Principal Bob, the electric principal, and I am here again today with Brother Pat, who is recording this from Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. I am, of course, in Loveland, Colorado today. And we hope you had a good New Year's Eve and a better New Year day. And that kind of brings us to our topic as, hey, it's 2025. The EV world has changed a lot just in the last couple of months, from my view. I work for a couple of dealerships, and I'm going to focus mostly in on one of those dealerships, which is Crossroads Hyundai in Loveland, Colorado. And I want to let you know that a few months ago, those of you watching the video portion of this are going to see a little clip of how many EVs we had. At one time, we had 175 EVs sitting on the lot here. Well, here it is, January 1st, and there isn't an Ioniq 5 in sight. They're all gone. Every single one of them was sold. And the other thing was that we probably got about six Ioniq 6s left, and that's it. That's all we've got in the supply. And some of those Ioniq 6s are not 24s, they're 25s. So, Colorado boomed in sales this month, and 25% of all cars sold in the great state of Colorado were EVs. Now, we're given a big chunk of change that Brother Pat can't enjoy because he lives in Wisconsin, and they don't give those kind of discounts. So I'm making him jealous right now. He should be living in Colorado, but he's not. He's living there, and it really helped sales. People got some super deals on those cars. But now it's time to focus on what's going to happen, because lo and behold, I asked Crossroads to print up a list of cars that are coming. And then in the next week or two, they are going to have a number of Ioniq 5s show up on their doorstep. And those will be 25s. And those cars are going to have a lot more going for them than the 24s did. And I'm excited about that. So, first of all, you're going to see bigger batteries. You're going to see more buttons that you can control, which I really, really like. If you get a chance, take a look at my brief intro I did of the 25 when I went out to the LA Auto Show. That's on my channel, and you can reach that at the link below as well. But the 25s are going to be special, and things are looking bright in the EV world. So Pat started driving an Ioniq this year. He joined the party late. He was driving an ID4, which he still has. What year is the ID4, Pat? Is that a 22,
Well,
20?
it was a 21, but I didn't purchase it until 22. And again, that was that weird Volkswagen thing where they came out as 21s and then there was a shortage of them and people were buying them into June of 22 and they were still 21s.
Yeah, they
That
were
was a
so far
weird
behind.
Volkswagen thing. Yep.
Yep. And the other thing too is that the 25s, the most exciting change is going to be on those cars is they're going to be ready for the NACS network, the North American Charging Standard, which is Tesla. And that's big news because that changes a lot of things. And particularly for, I live in an EV rich state, really rich state, but Pat, different story.
Yeah, I think that's just huge. I mean, I'm looking forward to the hopefully mid January date here when I can use my 23 on that Tesla network because again, those of you who had some experience using Magic Docks know that your Hyundai will charge at about 100 kilowatts per hour, and it'll do that really pretty much from the beginning until you get to that 80%. It stays pretty consistent. And I'm an experienced Tesla owner, and I know that when I would plug in my Model 3, which was a 21 as well, I could see as high as 250 kilowatts, but the amazing thing was by the time you hit 50%, it was down to 90, and from there it dropped quite a bit. So because the Hyundai has that consistent charging curve, that's pretty exciting. And what's even more for those of you who are going to purchase or waiting for the 25s yours will be charging at 130 kilowatts. So that's just great news all around.
Yep, and I'm really excited when we get the first 25 in. I'm going to tell Crossroads. I'm going to ask them. I can't tell them, but I'm going to ask them if they would kindly let me take that car and run the battery down a little bit and then run over to a Tesla charger and plug that in. And it's really important to note, because this is an important caveat. There's always a caveat that you still will not be able to use the 150 kilowatt chargers. And those are the older chargers. And the reason they didn't allow that is because they felt the performance on CCS cars, like a BMW or Hyundai, or Kia or anybody else we can think of, VW. It just it just wasn't up to snuff on a 150 kilowatt charger. But the 250s, it works great. But there's some areas in the country that only have those 150s. But I think Tesla's doing something about that, right, Pat?
Well, Tesla, to their credit, is upgrading a number of those. And in Wisconsin, it's been nice because they've really built some of the new 250 sites and portions of the state that were largely charging deserts. I've talked about that earlier, that eastern Wisconsin, there were barely any decent CCS charging available for you. So now with this input with the 250s, cars will be in good luck. Now the old sites, some of them they're going to revamp, I understand, but I really Tesla isn't really talking about what they're going to do with all the 150 sites, but frankly, they don't want my ID4 when that gets permission to go on a 150 site charging in cold weather at, 40 kilowatts and then sitting there for 3 hours clogging their charger. So I get why they're waiting for the 250s and only allowing the 250s.
Yeah, and there are parts of the state Pat doesn't even have access to. Like he will not take his Hyundai or his ID4 and drive it to northwestern Wisconsin because or northeastern Wisconsin because there just aren't enough chargers there to make the trip there and back. It's a clunky EV experience, but Wisconsin is finally going to solve that. They're putting in new chargers, but that's the kind of game-changing stuff that happens when that Tesla network opens up, and that will open up to everyone who has an Ioniq 5 or 6 on the 15th. That's the day. And it's, you know, about a week before that is when we're going to start to see those 25s roll in. And they're going to be
And
pretty standard 25s. They're going to be all-wheel drive. They're going to be limited versions for the most part. We're not going to see the new off-road version coming out till much later. They haven't even put one of those into the factory yet, which will have an 8-inch ground clearance and be very macho and very cool, and you could drive that anywhere for the most part that you'd want to take a Ioniq 5. But those are going to come later. But we're going to see those NACS chargers coming in, and as soon as they do, a video will be coming out for you.
just a reminder that those people who are going to be using that NACS network, you're going to need a adapter to be able to use the 250 Tesla network. And although I know that there's going to be a system where you're going to be able to get your free adapter from Hyundai and Kia, that's very nice. You'll be able to get that. If you go to a company like Electron, you can get and purchase an adapter so you can use it right away. And again, it's our hope that it's January 15th, but the way these rollouts are going, sometimes things happen with software, it gets delayed, but that's our understanding that it's going to be January 15th, and I will be celebrating that day.
Well, I sure hope it is because we're going to have a bunch of 15s on the lot, 25s on the lot, and
Yeah.
we won't be able to charge them at Tesla chargers. So that I think is a pretty a pretty firm date. And then for those of you who own a 24 or just bought a 24, you will be getting a free charger. Those of you like Brother Pat with a 23 are going to have to get your own, but they're like $200. They're not very expensive. They're well worth your time. And the other thing to know about that Tesla network is that when you're going to take a road trip, you just buy a membership to the Tesla charging network. That's like 12 bucks a month. And it drops your charging costs down to 32 cents a kilowatt, which is dirt cheap compared to the other networks. So Tesla does give you, at this point, who knows what they're going to do when everybody's on their network. They're going to have a monopoly. But it's really affordable to do that. And then when you're done with your road trip, you drop your subscription because you can just charge at home or charge at CCS chargers with an adapter to do that. And folks, that's what's going to happen. When you get that 25, you're going to get an adapter.
And I'm really hoping that with these 25s, I can't wait to try one out. Where basically you can take a road trip in that and precondition that battery at the push of a button versus going through all the map menus that you have to do now. And again, I use the map menu in the system that they have right now, and it works, but so many new improvements are coming into this 25, Bob, and that push button preconditioning for road trips is just one of them. Do you want to tell us a little more about what this car is going to offer?
Well, you're going to get a bigger battery, so you're going to get at least 20 miles of more range because they're gonna up the kilowatts on the battery, which is a wonderful thing. And the other thing you're going to get with this car is that on the NACS network, it's going to actually charge faster than the 24s because what they've done is they have modernized the charging technology in the car, the system, and it actually is going to charge at about 130 kilowatts from beginning to end, maybe a little higher than that. We'll find out when we get one. But that's significantly quicker than I charge in my 24, 23 when I get that. So that's exciting, and it's kind of fun to see how the car companies are now tuning their cars to the NACS network. And I mean, unless Tesla does something, they're going to outperform the Teslas on those chargers.
And it's really kind of neat that they're upping the kilowatt speed on the charging because now that you've got that bigger battery, it'll take about the same 18 minutes from basically filling it from 20% to 80% that it does right now, or 10%, I believe, 10% to 80%. So I think that's amazing that they've increased the battery and the speed's going to be the same, and you'll be able to use the NACS network and, of course, the CCS network that gets up to 230 kilowatts right now, 235,
Yep.
and it'll all be working well within this new car. I also like the new car because they've done some nice features that people have been asking for. They're going to have more instead of on screen touch screen kind of commands. They're actually going to put in physical buttons for a lot of the features like the heated seat and the cool seat if you have a limited and those kinds of things. So they're going to be making that switch, and I'm really excited to see what that's like.
Yep, and you're going to get heated seats in the back. There's just a lot of upgrades because Hyundai does a good job of listening to customers, and they're going to tell that you're going to get a better interface. When it comes to the gauges, what you see in terms of the speedometer and the power meter, it's going to be more like a traditional car. Many, many changes. But, take a look at that video that I did when I went out to the LA Auto Show a few weeks ago, where I shot some video and showed some of these features. I think people who buy the 25s are going to really like what they've done for it. And I would give it a little bit of advice here. If you own a 23 or particularly a 24, I'm not sure how this rollout is going to happen. If it's like Ford, I've got a Lightning that I've had for 7 months, and no one has sent me an adapter yet for the Tesla network. I went out and bought, as Pat said, Electron, and I don't think that's a bad idea. If you're a person who's going to be on the road and you want to use those faster Tesla chargers now, just spend 200 bucks and go order one from Electron. They work great. I'm not getting any money by saying that, but it's just a practicality that sometimes when you have a rush, there's a lot of Ioniq 5s on the road right now, and that's a lot of charging CCS adapter to Tesla adapters that they're going to have to make and start handing out to people. And it's going to be a while. And if you own a 23, you're going to have no choice but to go buy one to convert your CCS to Tesla. So I
And
wouldn't waste time. I'd go do that now.
just to finish off here, it's exciting for the 25s coming in. Again, if you're looking for a deal, you still probably can find an Ioniq 6, and probably in some areas where EV sales aren't as big as they are in Colorado or California, you might be able to find a 24 yet.
And in closing, I really appreciate you joining our channel, both the YouTube channel and the new podcast channels. And we would urge you to, if you like this video, give it a like and a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel to get the weekly podcast, and subscribe to the YouTube channel to get the video updates on what's happening in Ioniq world, and as well as VW and all the other brands that we cover here. So thanks again for joining. Uh, don't regen like my brother in full one pedal mode driving.
And don't drive like an old man like my brother and not use regen at all.
Well, I use level 2 on my Ioniq. Come on now, that's some regen. I like coasting. I
Why
like
even
coasting.
bother? Why
Yeah,
even
and
bother?
well, you know what? It's the Audi VW solution, right? They don't have like really one pedal driving. And that's kind of how I learned how to do it. But you know what? That's the beauty of it. You can drive like my brother, even though I wouldn't, and and you could drive like me, even though he would be caught dead without one pedal driving, and have a great time. So, hey, we'll see you next week. We're going to do a podcast talking about the future of trucks, EV trucks, some really interesting solutions that are very creative and exclusive to EVs. And the world's changing because we're going to talk about Telos and Ram pickups. So we'll see you next week. Thanks again.